You can still hear me?
Yep.
All right. So, welcome to the Perennial Podcast. We sit down with athletes, entrepreneurs, and everything in between to talk about what it really takes to build something that lasts, not just the highlights and the wins, but the setbacks and the decisions that really shape who we become. And our goal is simple: leave every conversation with something that you can carry into your own journey because we believe the best things aren't built overnight, they're built for the long game. And we've got our first guest on the podcast. Um, quickly just give us 30-second, minute long intro and then we'll hop right into it.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Gehlhausen. I'm an assistant coach here at the University of Southern Indiana. I've been an assistant coach and a head coach at both, well, a head coach at the Division II level, and an assistant coach also at the Division I level. I'm starting year 16 now in collegiate coaching and have been blessed to learn a lot and meet a lot of really cool people along the way.
Cool. So we'll talk about coaching for sure, but first thing I wanted to talk about is you played, right?
I did.
So you could coach Stephanie, the player. What are some things that you would tell her?
Me as a player, I probably would have told myself to say nicer things, to
Mm,
myself. I think I would have needed to probably be a little bit more uplifting, and remind of the positives. I was that person. I think really a lot of athletes are, especially the ones that make it to this level. They're really hard on themselves. They
mm,
don't give themselves a lot of grace, and I think it's our job as coaches to remind them that growth comes with some difficulty, but those setbacks and those failures are what will make you grow further. Um, I'm naturally a very, very competitive and fiery person, so I never really needed a lot of motivation. You put a challenge in front of me, I want to win.
yeah.
Um, but I think your mind can be clouded a bit sometimes when you're only thinking about, dang, I should have done this, I should have done that. And so um, just getting refreshers of, hey, you did this well, and next play mentality kind of thing. It's okay. But that's probably what I needed the most. But like I said, I was a lot more of a like kind of a self-starter and very competitive, like
Yeah.
dangerously so.
Yeah. But just like you said, like players need that because like they
Hmm.
don't get as far as they do without some level of intensity, discipline.
Hmm.
All this stuff matters.
Yeah.
So as a player, like, did you always know that you wanted to coach, or was it out of the blue?
You know what's funny? I went into college knowing I wanted to be a high school teacher and coach, and then it wasn't until I realized my assistant coach in college was that was her main job. She didn't do anything else. So I was saying, hold on, you're just a coach, and I use that lightly because we all know that coaches do a million things other than just coach.
Yeah.
But once I found that out, I was like, forget high school. I want to coach college.
Okay.
And I really planned the rest of my path with that intention. I started off at the University of Alabama at Huntsville, and I actually transferred to Southern Indiana, where I'm at now, because I knew that the program had a really strong history and all
I'm
those
listening. Yeah.
motions.
I'm in
Yeah,
the
no, but
classroom.
I got you. But yeah, so I knew that they had a really strong history, and I wanted to get into college coaching, and I thought that that would be the best path. And I wanted to win. The school I was at, I played a lot of minutes, but we didn't win. And I came from a really strong high school, and um, yeah, winning mattered to me. So yeah, I
Okay.
always knew.
And so you coached, tell me everywhere you coached again.
Okay, so oddly enough, I actually started off at Southern Indiana, where I'm at now. They were a Division II program. I was there
Okay.
for 5 years. I loved it. Obviously, I came back.
Hmm.
But I found myself reflecting and really questioning on if I loved, college coaching, if I was good at college coaching, or if I was just good at coaching at my college or at, my university, where I know my head coach, I know the city, I know the area. It was easy, because it was what I knew. And so I felt a calling, and had a chance to move out to Colorado and help turn another Division II program around out there. And I thought, this is how I find out. So I went out to Western Colorado, and I was only there for 2 years. The program had only won 4 games each year prior to us getting the job. Um, and by year 3 and 4 of those recruits, they were making the NCAA tournament for the first and second time in school history. Like I said, I was only there for 2 years. I had no intention of leaving, but I got a phone call from Kerry Pickens, who's the head coach at Ashland University, which is the winningest Division II program over the last decade. They've been to 5 national championships in the last 10 years. And um, at the time, they had just come off of a 73 win streak. They had won a national championship and lost in the national championship the following year. And she had gotten the job. So I packed up the U-Haul, moved out there, and was at Ashland University for 4 years as the assistant and then associate head coach. Um, and then I had an opportunity to be a head coach at a Division II school at Lander University in South Carolina. And I loved my time there. I spent 2 years as a head coach there, learned a lot. Um, and then had a stint at Marshall University as the assistant at that Division I level, working for Julie Folks, who they just won the WNIT. And full circle, honestly, the crazy thing is, like, people don't understand that coaches are, normal people. We have family. I had to take a year off. In fact, a year ago this August, I was stepping away to help with some family things, and to be able to get back in here at USI was just the best blessing I could ask for.
Good. And it sounds like you're going different places, you worn different hats. So I can imagine like
Mhm.
all this stuff you've gotten experience as an assistant, a head, an associate, like
Yeah.
okay. And that's one thing I
Yeah.
did want to ask you about. Like, so your time at Lander, you kind
Hmm.
of brushed over it, but I feel
Yeah.
like every season, every preseason, they sit down at the board. They're like, okay, this is the year we're not going to lose a game. We're going
Hmm.
undefeated. Few people actually do that. And y'all went 31 and 0.
Oh, yeah. That was actually at Ashland.
I thought it was at Ashland. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We went 31 and
Okay.
0, and COVID hit. So,
So what went right that year? Like, what was it like on a daily basis? What do you think helped get y'all to that?
I mean, our culture was everything. Um, we are really, and we were really intentional to make sure that we it was team first. It was servant leadership, and that's the thing, is that program had the juniors, or the seniors that we had. That class had won a national championship as freshmen. Um,
Okay.
and they had spent their careers trying to get back, but doing things the right way. Um, we were really intentional about the little things, and it was all about, the people that we recruited and the buy-in, because to be that elite of a program, half of our bench could go to any other Division II school and start and play significant minutes. And the selflessness that we had from every single player on the roster is what allowed us to achieve the things that we were um, able to achieve. And I on it when COVID hit, we were, like you said, 31 and 0, about to start the NCAA tournament, with every intention of competing for a national championship. And then we found out tournaments canceled. And it was that season that taught us how important appreciating and enjoying the journey is. Um, it was the hardest thing I think any of us had ever gone through, for it to end that way. But to be able to look back and smile and reflect on how fun that group was, I mean, it felt different from the beginning. But it really did start with our seniors. They were willing to do anything, and like I said, they had won a national championship as freshmen, and they wanted to get another one before they left.
Okay. And I can imagine that's probably one of your favorite years of coaching, especially when the
Yeah.
players are that motivated. But like even with me
Hmm.
coaching on high school, that's what we try to harp is like the little things matter so much. Like
Yeah.
I feel like now people are so caught up in highlights and how many points per game. It's like if you're not selfless enough to make an extra pass or
Yeah.
do the little things, like it's not gonna go far. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's
It
good to
was it was
hear.
great. Hmm.
And then so to transition how we met, So you coach at USI. I coach high school girls. We had a summer league game up there, and I ran into one of your coaches, Maddie, and I was asking
Hmm.
her, we were just catching up because I coached against her in high school, and I was like, who's y'all's player development coach up here? She was like, oh, that's
Hmm.
Stephanie. And I was like, you think she'd be willing? And she was like, yeah. So
Hmm.
that's how me and you, man, we got the chance to sit down and talk. But I'm really big, just player development in general. Everybody's saying it. It seems like a label tag people just throw around. Like,
Yeah.
what does it mean to you?
Um, to me, it means the entire player, and the development part is not only just the skill work, but it's the ability to understand the game. Um, I think a lot of people kind of get lost in just the training and the reps and the moves. But when a player gets out on the court with their four teammates and then five defenders, um,
Mhm.
it's hard for them to understand and put those moves into the live play. So I'm a big believer in, yes, you have to grow your skill. You want to add as many things to your game as possible. Um, but once you have something that you're great at, be elite with it. And then look to add things to your game that is within your team's offense. If you have a trainer, that trainer needs to know what your team's offense is.
Yeah,
They need to be having you practice reps that are within the shot selection that you'll get when you're in a jersey. I think sometimes we waste a lot of time taking a million shots that you'll never see in the game.
yeah,
And so when a player knows these are the shots that I get, these are the opportunities, I get a ball screen at the top of the key every time. So I'm going to be great at manipulating my defender on a ball screen and great at a variety of finishes at the rim downhill from this specific attack. If your team doesn't set any wing ball screens, I'm not saying you should never practice coming off of a wing ball screen, but it's a different read. It's
yeah,
it's a different balance. Where are the other defenders at? It'd be great if you could pull it back and then re-attack, but if you're pulling it back into a teammate who's already on the wing, that's not realistic. So that's one thing that I try to be really intentional about. Yes, there are certain drills that you can do really just to make sure that you're getting reps and you're working on different finishes. But when it comes to fine tuning things as you get closer to season, it should all be based within what shots you will get when you're on the court in a jersey.
yeah. And just
Mhm.
kind of how you were talking about, like, I think there's a disconnect between coaches and trainers. Not all of them, but like more than there should be. Because like at the end of
Mhm.
the day, the main focus is the kid. And I feel like it's too much of like, okay, well, my trainer said this or my coach said this, and then they're not working together. So then you got
Mhm.
this friction, and then the player feels like they're being torn, and then it's causing all these problems.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, like I said, the more people that are willing and invested in the athlete, the better, right? It's just a matter
Yeah,
of being on the same page. I'm absolutely not against trainers. I think hearing different voices, it's important, and it allows you to be more coachable in a lot of different ways. Um, but yeah, making sure that there's a communication connection on, hey, these are where she's going to get her shots, and this is how she's getting them,
hmm,
and build it that way. The other piece to me that I find is people spend equal amount of time on the finish as they do getting to the basket. And in my opinion, from my experience, there you're not getting to the rim in a variety of different ways. Usually it's just your first step is better. Um, but we're not spending enough time working on the finish itself, if that makes sense. I mean, I try to keep it like a 5 to 1.
yeah,
For every one time we start out on the perimeter and do the whole move, we've already done just that finish, whether it's just a one dribble finish, like repping out like forms. You don't go straight into shooting threes. When you walk out onto the court, you start with forms, you get that rhythm,
yep,
and then you move your way back. So that's something else that I think we could be better at is recognizing, all right, let's build just to gather. I mean, are we gathering it to our shoulder off that dribble when we put it to our pocket for a layup? Or are we is it a low scoop? Those things. I think that could help our field goal percentages better.
yeah. And then, so you kind of started talking about it. So,
Yeah.
what's player development look like in your role? Like, what are you able to do every day? How do you structure it?
Well, it's a little bit difficult right now just because, we're using our 8 hours for more practice than player development. But for me, the
Mhm.
way I approach it is one, I'm going to watch film, right? Especially because this is my first year here at USI want to get to know the players and what their skill set is currently in live play. What shots did they take the most? What move do they like the most? How can I help them um, fine tune that and then expand on it? Um, and then after that, it's a matter of a lot of one-on-one workouts because every player is different, right? I don't need my 5'10" guards working on the same sort of finishes as we work on with our 5'6" guards because it's just different heights. They have a different ability. Just like our littler guards, we're going to incorporate a lot more speed in how we gather and how we scoop and how we keep our dribble. But like I said, I start with knowing the player first, teaching them what my vision is for them, and then high volume reps, working
Mhm.
our way back from the basket.
That's what I love too. And like you said, starting in close and then backing up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was something I learned early, and I'm so grateful I did because I watch some of these kids shoot, and I'm like, I can tell you started with threes, and it looks
Yeah.
this okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then so just with what you look for, especially with you being a college coach and hopefully having high school athletes that do watch this as a recruiter, what are you looking for when you are looking at a high school player?
Well, great question. Obviously we're always looking to make sure that you've got the right attitude, that you're coachable, that you play hard, right? Those are the bare minimums.
Yeah,
Being a great teammate, that kind of thing. Um, but when I see a player who's great at least one thing, right? I think players even get caught up in themselves, like I've got to be the best shooter, I've got to be the best finisher, I've got to be the best at something,
yeah,
right? And then be good in all the other areas. Like if you're a shooter, be an elite shooter, right? Be able to shoot off of screens, on the move, off the bounce, off the ball screen. Like make me confident that she's going to come in and immediately be able to do this. Um, and then make sure that you're a great passer, that you've got great vision, that you can handle the ball, and then that you can get to the rim. Because at the end of the day, like if you're just average at everything, um, it's really hard for us to see where your ceiling is. That's just my philosophy. I like to know. All right, she's great at this, and it can be
mhm,
passing. Like elite passers, we have the advanced rule. If I don't have somebody that can take the ball out of bounds, when we're going for that last second play, it
yeah,
doesn't matter who's shooting the shot,
yeah, yeah,
and so those skill sets where how could she help me immediately or help this team immediately, and where can I help grow her game? That's really how we approach evaluating. And does she fit our system? There are some really great players um, that just wouldn't fit in our system. That doesn't mean that we don't think they're great at basketball.
yeah,
And so the other advice is to recruits is if you're getting recruited by a team, and for example, you're a true post player, a true back to back, you need to check and make sure that the team's not running a 5-out motion.
yes,
Are your skill sets going to be, exposed and used at the next level in the program that you're considering? Um, so it's kind of a two-way street there.
yeah. And just like you said, just sometimes you just might not fit a system. Like, because we got
Hmm.
girls now that are trying to get recruited, and a lot of times, like naturally, you'll look at yourself and like, what am I doing? But like you said, sometimes
Right.
you just don't fit a system. If you're back to the
Yeah.
basket, they run 5 out, you're in the way. You're taking
Yeah.
up a spot at that point.
Yeah.
And then for the parents with recruiting, what what's something you wish parents knew, and what's something you wish they would stop doing?
I think parents get a really like they kind of get a bad rep these days, just in the sense of we really only hear the negatives. And one, I hope they continue to give their child an opportunity if that's what their child wants, and their sacrifices that they're making, they don't go unnoticed. Um, the piece that I always see my players struggle with is just be a parent. At the end of the day, they've got coaches that are going to tell them the areas that they need to improve on, and kids put a lot of pressure on themselves, especially during this recruiting process. That sometimes they just need to be, like I said, even with me, like just even reminded that, hey, it's going to work out. It's going to work out the way it's supposed to. Trust the process, and we support you. Um, but just kind of filling them with positivity, because right now with everything on social media and you see all these offers and you see all this, the comparison game is so heavy, um, that sometimes kids need to be reminded, like, hey, this is your journey, and we're going to enjoy it, and it might not look like everyone else's. um, that would be the one thing I wish that we saw more consistently across the board. um, but yeah, I would probably say just that, like, love on your daughter, and love on your daughter or son, who, whatever, but give them grace, and enjoy it, like just enjoy it.
Yeah, especially with NIL and it's like real money going around right now. So I'm like,
Yeah.
there's probably so much pressure now on kids and like you said,
and
focusing on the journey.
and to touch on that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know that there's a lot that's being offered out there, but you cannot put a price on happiness, and what your
Yeah,
experience is, and understand that if you're going to get caught up on a number, um, you've got to be okay with, you know the scenario that you may be stepping into. Does this number matter more than playing time, than opportunity, than balance? And for some, I get, yeah, it does. But that's something that you do have to consider, is what's my cutoff? Where do I draw the line on how I balance my joy, and the financial opportunities that might be presented.
yeah. And we got, let's see. I got the basic Zoom plan, so they tell us we got 10 minutes left. But I only
Okay,
had two
yeah,
more questions, so we good. We
awesome,
good on time.
yeah.
So quick hitter questions. Well, not even quick hitter, but what phrase would you eliminate from youth basketball forever?
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Because I hate, especially kids will catch it and be like hunched over, not even their parents like shoot. I'm like, they can't see the basket.
Yeah. Yeah. That.
Okay. And last one, this is something I'm gonna ask to everybody. Probably have a different answer for each one. But like I said, everything with perennial is building something that lasts and hopefully building something that long outlasts you as a person.
Hmm.
So in your coaching journey, just everything, what is something that you're growing today that you may never harvest?
Ooh. Um, I would hope that, I would hope that I'd be able to, like, harvest it in the sense, but like just building a confidence in young women, and so that when they leave here as adults, or young adults, that they truly feel empowered and confident in whatever it is that they do. Because I believe that there's so much more than just basketball, and for me, coaching is about a lot more than just basketball. Like, I want every young woman that I coach to have that belief in herself, in whatever she pursues. So that would be the most important thing to me, is, I hope that they all leave feeling that way about themselves, and confident, ready to take on the world.
Well, let me turn on the lights real quick before I end
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I'm in Kelsey's classroom. I came to look at the gym and ran into
That's
her.
fun.
But
I love it.
okay. But yeah, so I'm glad you got on here. If there any
Yeah.
last advice you want to leave for, say, somebody that's not getting recruited, going into their junior, senior year, anything?
Trust the process. I mean, and I with everything that's changing, it seems daily anymore. Enjoy it, and you'll put yourself in a position to have an opportunity. And yeah, and thank you to you for putting this on. I think what you're doing right now is awesome, and I think it's going to make an impact in people's lives. And we always appreciate people like you that just pour into the game, and you're all about it, and you're doing it the right way. So I'm so excited and honored to be here today.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you the first
Yeah.
guest. Yeah,
Woohoo!
I'm gonna let you know when they post too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.